I'm Sally Mills of Lavolta and Lavolta Principles, and welcome to Digital Bullets 2010. We've asked some industry experts to share their thoughts on issues and developments in the digital industry. We've given each person 20 seconds to answer those questions, or else they get the chop. So we'll be broadcasting a sizzling digital bullet on a regular basis, one question answered with many different points of view. Hope you enjoy. Without oversimplifying the world of search, at least text-based search in the Western world seems to be dominated by Google, with Yahoo and Bing respectively trailing well behind. Do you see any major developments that will change this pecking order in the next few years? Could developments outside text search, say in mobile search, in voice-activated search, or in search for video content, have enough influence to change the dominance of Google?
What we're really talking about is Star Wars here and the Rebel Alliance trying to defeat the Death Star.
No, I don't think so, actually. Google has got about 24% of the mobile advertising activity through mobile search, and that will increase to over 70% by the year 2013.
In short, no, I don't. But I think there's some interesting developments. If you look from a mobile search perspective, there are some interesting things that are happening there.
My thing is that I don't see any of the other search engines getting anywhere near Google from a text-based search model. But the things that I use for search these days often tends to be things like Twitter search, mainly because I can get real-time information about what's going on now, or alternatively, the latest information from bloggers and leveraging that sort of wisdom of crowds about this is what people are talking about now.
I think it's possible that there's things that we can't see yet could change the dominance of Google, but we switched to Google very easily, and we switched from MySpace to Facebook very easily. Social media has changed my search patterns quite extensively. My process of discovery and how I find content has changed considerably the more that I've used Twitter and even Facebook.
Things can change really, really quickly. Google is the absolute case study in that. There were perfectly good search engines before Google came along, but Google did it much, much, much better, and very quickly sort of rose to dominate, particularly in markets like our own. It's worth remembering, though, that isn't universal at a global level, and that in China, for example, Google is not the dominant search player, and there's no shortage of people nipping at the heels.
I think the next big change that we'll see is more competition for every other publisher as Google start to provide or generate more free content to place their advertising around where they can keep 100% of the advertising revenue.
That's the big $200 billion question, isn't it? Look, I think live search is gaining popularity. I think hyperlocal search again is going to be crucial, and I think that social media or search within communities is going to start to grow dramatically, which could actually threaten Google's and Bing's and Yahoo's dominance, or the whole application of a global search engine.
I think the dominance of Google will remain. The great thing about Google is that they do support the industry. They support the industry, they support clients, they support the development of new things. They're constantly pushing Microsoft, and I think that, you know, until their world domination works against them, they will continue to be the pioneer in search.
It could, but don't forget Google's got the most money, and they'll be able to invest the most into these new initiatives. Take the car industry. You know, at the start of last century, there were hundreds and hundreds of different car industries. By the 30s, there were only 3 or 4 in the States. I don't know necessarily if we've already gone over that hump in terms of people being able to enter that market, but the stakes are incredibly high now, and you would have to have a significant investment to be able to compete at that level.
Can Google's dominance be challenged? Yes, because their hold on search is no stronger than Sony's was on portable music. There's almost always a better way waiting to be discovered.
Bing's actually quite a good product. I've used it a number of times and actually been quite impressed with the results, but it actually hasn't changed my fundamental behaviour. 99.9% of the time I use Google, and it's just a habit. So I think Google's going to be really hard to beat, because I'm not sure how you get people over the line to change a habit.
In terms of who can unseat a Google, there's really 2 parts to that equation. It's either a share issue, and I don't think Microsoft can buy share in search. I think they can buy it to a proportion, but they can't buy it to mass. So the other thing is really unseating Google in a technology leadership position. I think absolutely that can happen, and it will happen from a company I'm sure none of us are aware of.
That the only way that Google could lose its dominance is a public backlash. if one day as consumers we lose our love for Google, even if it's a slightly better service, people will move away from it if they feel like it's losing the don't be evil ethos that it was built on, or just simply if they think that it's becoming too strong or too powerful for its own good.
Google's good, it works well, it's a great brand, and it's kind of hard to see that being toppled in the short term. But in saying that, I think there's some people who've got some good positions. I think Facebook, given its penetration and what it does around social search, could actually have quite an interesting search proposition in future.
In our industry and in all industries, you need good, healthy competition, and if we don't have that, we end up with a monopoly, we end up with monopolistic practices, and we don't want that, even from the likes of someone as benign as Google.
I wouldn't be foolish enough to think anyone will challenge Google's dominance, but I think if there is a challenger, it won't be from Bing or Yahoo, it's more likely to be from Facebook. So I think social search is going to grow in momentum when Facebook start putting some energy behind it. What search within Facebook, a well-built search tool, will allow you to get recommendations for whether it's a product or a search, a B&B in the Yarra Valley, and actually get that from your friends rather than from whoever's spending the most money in SEO and through Google.
No. Google will be the dominant player in 3, 4, 5 years' time. Google is big enough, it has an innovative culture, they've got enough money to throw at the problems that they'll continue to innovate. If someone small and interesting comes along that develops a piece of technology that potentially could threaten them, or thus, from their perspective, enhance them, then they will probably buy that company and integrate it.